What's going on? Today we made it to the day where we gotta pull the body. Get me working on the old struggle love here. It's gonna be a struggle. I was kind of hoping I had a shop built by now with a lift, but that's not gonna happen anytime soon. We gotta get this done, so we're gonna kick it old school, run some 4x4s under the body, jack it up, see how it goes. I'm gonna try and keep the motor in this thing. I've done it before on other vehicles. Unfortunately, a big body's kind of got the motor set back under the cowl, so I think I got an idea how to kind of combat that. We'll see how it goes. Worst case scenario, end up pulling the motor. I don't know. Let's get to it. Clyde said hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Alright, now let's get to it. I'm gonna probably warn you, there's gonna be a lot of time lapsing, probably a lot of stuff skipped. I'm not really gonna go too much into detail on this, because it is overall a pretty big job. Kind of going to start taking some of the just smaller stuff off, front and rear bumper, side trim. I got to pull the shocks. I'm going to probably pull the coils, put some smaller coils in it, that way I can get the frame as low as I can. More than likely, I may not. What I'm probably going to do, take the wheels off, put it on my dollies, that way I can just set it, once again, as low as possible, roll it out. The highest thing we have to clear really, I think, is just the rear arches of the frame. So once we get above that, we should be okay. I'm really not trying to have this thing up in the air. I'm going to have jack stands sitting on cinder blocks, which that's always cool. Done it before. It is a little sketchy, but I don't really have a better way at the moment. So I'm going to get started. Like I said, I'm going to start taking this stuff off. Just kind of hopping around, going from there, trying to get the little stuff out of the way so we can get into it. Well, we hit our first snag. The heads for the screws of those, they're rusted. Can't get nothing on them. More likely gonna break when I pull it out. I'm gonna try and kind of just slide the bumper down. It's down about as far as it'll go. Maybe a little bit more. But I'm gonna kind of try and twist it and pull it out all at the same time. It is behind these right here, so that's gonna be real fun. This car does have a very good tag plate, which is about impossible to find. Probably end up breaking it, but we're gonna try not to. If you were born 6/15 and 93, you're born on the same day as this car. Guess that's when it's put together. I'm not sure if they marked it as they put it on the car or when this bumper was made. Either way, that's when this bumper is made at least. Alright, driver's side back of the engine. There's a ground wire. I've already took it off. It goes right there. That's a 14mm. Also, while you're under here, actually, I'm going to take it off right here. Transmission shifter linkage. Pop it off here. Maybe unbolt it there. We'll see how that goes. Drive shaft? No. Steering linkage right there. Don't know what it is yet. Looks like a 15, 16 millimeter. Probably gonna take it off down here. I can get to it pretty easy. Just gonna slide it forward. It does telescope right there. So slide it forward. Make sure you got your steering wheel locked because it does have a clock spring in there for the airbag. Also make sure to have your battery off. I mean, kind of obvious by now. Taking the frame off, you want to take, unhook the battery. But other than that, that is all I see at the moment, other than this manifold has a little slack in it right there. Because that bolt's broke. That's cool, we didn't see that. So to get this front valance off, pretty easy. Look under there, there's 2 bolts right there, right there. You can take these out if you want. I just took this bracket off because these are kind of a pain to take off. Same thing on the other side, 2 bolts. So we got to figure out something to do with our ABS box. I'm going to try and leave it on. The only thing that sucks is I got to jack the body up to clear this. This is going to be the highest point on the body. But we do have a plug. Well, we got a wiring harness here. Goes into it. We remove the bolts. I'm about to pull that up to see what's under there. Looks like we just mainly got a plug and unplug that. One thing I did see right down there is a ground. See it there. It's going to be kind of hard to get to, but we'll have to take that off. To get that ABS clip out, you just pull that out, it just slides out, and then you kind of got to pry it up, but it comes out fairly easy. Then we got our ground wire off. That is an 8mm nut. Not too bad to get to. Best to get a wrench in there, really. So I've been looking at our actual brake lines, figuring out how I'm going to take them off. I may pull them up here, pull this little bracket, and just kind of bend them down out of the way when we go to lift the body off, maybe. Not 100% sure on that yet. We do have this little level line we need to disconnect. It'll probably drain that out, so I'm going to suck all the brake fluid out of there. Also noticed, right here, that is our vent line for our fuel tank. It comes all the way up to somewhere in there, so we'll have to disconnect that. So in removing this line here, you have a few options. You can either struggle with it here, either break the connection or break the reservoir, because that'll always happen. You can come down here on the ABS pump, strip that out, because that'll probably happen. There's not a whole lot of room to work with in there. Or the line splices together. Probably still strip it out, but at least you'll be able to get to it easily. And with any luck, it'll break free, like that one did. I basically set my wrenches up, where I can squeeze them together. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back, watch the other videos. You're slacking. Pulling our brackets for our master cylinder. They are 15mm. Let's see if I can do this one-handed while reaching over a camera. Yes, I can. Now let's see if I can drop it. Yes, I can. We'll find that with full of frame. Like that. I'll have to get a ratchet in on that one. You know, I've been smart. Pulling those lines first. Backtrack. So the brake lines coming out of the master cylinder, they appear to be a 14mm. We're about to find out. They are good and tight. That's awesome. I've been spraying with PV Blaster, but that didn't seem to help at all. They're extremely tight. And I'm going to try a 9/16, so I literally feel like they have the same amount of play. We'll see. One of them's going to mess it up, that's for sure. Actually, it doesn't want to come off. That's cool. Cadillac acted like that was kind of a big deal in the car to have brakes or something, so that's sweet. So as you've seen, that did end up being a nightmare. I did use a 14mm. Put me a little wrench on here, just tighten it up. It was kind of flat on top, seems to be somewhat flat on the bottom. And just use the leverage to my advantage, squeezed them together, and broke it loose. Probably not going to be as easy to do on the back, but we'll see. Yep, so that's starting to slip. So I'm going to just go ahead and save myself the headache and go get some vice grips. Can you really consider a brake work if you don't have to use vice grips? I mean, come on. Alright, we're going to make one more last ditch effort, mainly because I forgot I bought those. We'll give it a shot before we use the vice grips. Try and do it right, I guess. Well, looky there. That's what I'm talking about. That was a good investment. Alright, so we'll finish pulling this bolt off. The reason we're removing this, we're not really removing it from the car. Actually, I guess we can. There's nothing else holding it on, so why not? But we're going to pull this off, mainly to get this bracket that holds the proportioning valve on. That right there is how you move the master cylinder. This will brake fluid everywhere. So now we're going to remove our little vent fuel line down here on the passenger side fender well. It just has a little squeeze clamp. Just pull it tight, pull the line out. We're done. So as I've been working on this for the last few days, I do take a break every now and then. I go around and try and spray the body mounts with some kind of penetrating oil, just to make it a little bit easier for us to come apart. This is a non-rusty vehicle. I've already had one of the bolts out. Basically, why did I take it out? Look at it for my car or something like that. But it came out really easily. But there's no reason not to make anything easier on me. So I've just been going around spraying everything, kind of show you how I got in there. The front obviously is pretty easy. Just reach down there, give it a few sprays. Another reason for optimal batteries right there. Driver's side's a little bit more difficult, but you can get down there fairly easily. Now, in the wheel well, you got two bushings. You got one right there. You can actually see it. There's another one right in this area. You can't really get to this one very easily from the top. But for this one, you can't get to it somewhat easily. There's a hole there. You can stick a little straw in there and just fill her up. And for that second mount we were talking about, let's see if I can get you in there. You can see the opening right in there. I just stick my straw in there. Once again, just spray and pray. For underneath the doors, there's not really a whole lot you can do. I've just been spraying it. That's really all you can do. And under the back door, you got a bushing right there. Basically get in there and spray away. Actually, there's a little bit bigger hole right there. You can kind of get more of an angle, and you can shoot that penetrating oil down towards, see if we can focus here. Shoot that penetrating oil more towards that bolt. And the back, kind of seeing where the body is all put together. I basically just filled that up and let it run down into it. There is also a hole somewhere. There's also a hole right there that you can fill up. You know, basically trying to get as much in there as you can. Same thing for right behind the wheels. You got a little hole in there. Just spray and pray. And this one's kind of hard to see. You can see it there a little bit, a little blue washer. Just basically spray it. That's all you can do. There ain't really any easy way of getting to that thing. Alright, so I'm getting down to the nitty gritty. While I was messing with the fuel line, I was underneath the car, so I took off my steering shaft. I had it loose. I've been soaking it with lubricant, and it come off pretty easily. One of the few last things I can really think of that I always forget for some reason, power steering lines. You gotta take those off. I think I might loosen this up, kind of pull it out of the way, see if I can get to them a little bit easier. Kind of play it how it is, I guess. Well, we're running into a small dilemma. There is an 18mm. I don't have a crow's foot for it. It would work really well if I did. My wrench can't really get in there. If I had a swivel wrench, it might be a little bit easier. So I guess I'm going to take this bracket off and get to the back of that power steering pump. Alright, pulling that alternator bracket off. My gut wants to say there's 3 bolts, but I believe there's only 2. One up there and one back there. So we're about to find out if that's it. And those are 15mm, by the way. Alright, gut instinct does never fail. That one does go on the bracket. I thought it did. Actually, I thought that was the first one I need to get. And then when I stuck the camera down, I seen that one. So I was like, alright, that's the one I need to get. Yeah, there are 3. 1, 2, 3. So far, they seem to be all 15mm. And of course, can't forget the support brackets. You got one here. And you go back to the alternator. The back side. One there. We'll have to take those off. I'm going to pull this whole bracket off as one. Alright, so it's definitely been a while since I worked on a TBI 350. There is another bolt right there. 2 bolts. Yeah. So we need to take those off too. Totally forgot about those little boogers. Alright, so now we got everything loosened up. Come under the car. Check out the lines. They're actually pretty easy to get to. Probably didn't have to loosen anything up. But here we are. So there's our main pressure line right there. You can loosen it up. I figured it would be easiest to do that while the bracket is still bolted. You know, holds the bracket in place. You can see a hose clamp right over there. That is our return line. I think that's going to be a little bit of a nightmare to get to, so we'll probably end up pulling it off anyways. There's a plug right above that pressure line. What that does, kind of goes off like the RPMs of the pump, I guess you'd say. Higher speeds, it makes it a little bit easier to steer or firmer to steer, one of the two. Not aftermarket part, so don't break that. Figured since we had everything all unbolted, mine as well. Got to pull it back. You can see right there, little hose clamp. Just gonna get a it's 5/16, so we'll get it on there, loosen up, pull that line off. So now I pretty much have everything loose that I can think of at the moment. Sure, I'm missing something. I do know I got to do the e-brake cable still. It's going to be later. But kind of getting the motor ready to support it. As I said, I'm going to leave it in the body. Basically going to drop the frame out from underneath, kind of leave this hanging in there. So I need to get something to hook up to the engine itself. I was going to pull all this off, run a bolt into the head, just how it is over here. Just do a little loop. After looking at this, and after working on this side, remembering how many bolts are in here, I think I'm going to just take this bracket off here and run me a chain to this. This has a through bolt that goes all the way through, so it's supported pretty good there. This all comes down, it's tied into there. There's 5 bolts on there, so I'm pretty sure this is sufficient enough to support the motor. It's not going to have all the weight of the motor. It will have the front half of the motor. The back side will be supported by a jack, so I think it'll be plenty good. So I got the motor mount bolts out. They weren't as bad as I was figuring they'd be. Honestly, it slid right out. I don't have any pressure taken off the motor or nothing. It's just sitting in there. Bolt slid right out, so that was cool. The back, it's 18 millimeter. Front, it's 16 millimeter. Now you know. Alright, so I ended up pulling the fuel tank. I've got a video on that if you want to watch that. It's a total separate video on its own. But what I'm going to do, I got the body lifted up. I got the whole chassis lifted up by the jack right now. I'm going to set it on these jack stands here. I'm going to try and twist that rear end, get the springs out. And I'm going to jack this all back up and kind of set it back down on the ground and start lifting the body off the frame, hopefully. Actually, I'm probably going to set the frame on some smaller jack stands. I'm going to kind of keep it at the right height that it's at factory, and then I'm going to kind of go up from there. So I'm going to try and jack the passenger side up, and hopefully it'll drop the driver axle. Let's pull the spring right out. I want to take the tire off, even though it looks like it might. Pretty tight in there. Let's see if I can mess my fingers up. And this is where I always say springs are dangerous, because they are. These springs aren't as bad as the front, but they are definitely still dangerous. Just like that. Woo! Come on out of there. You know you want to. So I got the springs out, got the rear end compressed all the way. The weight is off the jack stands. Gonna lower the jack stands. Actually, I'm gonna just put smaller jack stands in here. Kind of get the whole body and the frame closer to the ground, and then we kind of address the front. Alright, so we got our jack stand set up, and I'm totally realizing these are two completely different jack stands. So let me grab the same jack stand so it's somewhat level. Alright, let's try this again. Now we got somewhat of the same jack stand. We're going to try and drop the frame on the stands, drop the rear end into the skates, kind of get that all situated. Basically what I'm going to do is set that down as much as I can. Once I lift up the body, I'll bring the frame all the way down on the rear end and then kind of roll it all out as one, hopefully. So let's see what we can do. Look at that. It's like I planned it. Dead level. So now it's super windy because there's a freaking hurricane going on. We're going to try and lift this body off the frame. Good decision, right? So here's what we got. On big bodies, they have a pretty big area right here. Right near the pinch weld. Pinch weld's back here. There's a little flat area right here at the bottom of the rockers. So I got a 2x4 in there, kind of help distribute the load, spread the load. That way we can keep from crushing that in. Basically, I'm going to just lift up the front and the rear, kind of tilt the body like that. I think that's going to be the easiest way. We'll see how it goes. But I'm going to lift it up, get it ready and put a 4x4 under there, and then kind of go over to the other side, do the same, get it ready and put a 4x4, probably like a 4x4 and a 2x4. That way it'll give me a little bit of space. That way I can set it all down on the 4x4s, and then put my jack onto the 4x4s and start lifting the body up. So that's kind of how I got the body supported at the moment. This board right here, right there, that's going on that pinch weld I was telling you about. And a 2x2 fits perfectly. If I had some more of those, I would totally use them. Then I got this board here. It's kind of building a bridge. There's a big gaping hole right here. That's where the frame went up in the body. So if I only had a 2x4 that long, a 2x4 would kick up and probably fall. So what we did, we support it on the floorboard over there. I put it on the corner to try and keep it from denting in, which that's doing an awesome job so far. And got to support it out here. Like I said, kind of builds a bridge, sits on the frame, keeps everything up. I said earlier we are going to go up higher, put a 4x4 in there. But right now, I'm going to try and get to the other side, get it leveled out, try and come up as even as I can. And so far, everything up here is falling in like it's supposed to. That kind of rode on the wheel well, wasn't that big of a deal. Our brake line's got enough flex, they're past everything. All of our hoses and stuff, that has enough flex. Soon we will hook up the engine hoist. Once we get the body up in the air a little bit more, we'll hook up the engine hoist up here, hook a jack up to the back, and kind of work its way up. Hey, here goes the passenger side. So as luck would have it, if I can get you guys in here to see, the exhaust shield's hitting on the frame. It's kind of stopping the two from separating. So I'm gonna get a pry bar in there and bend it out of the way. Probably should have took it off. I figured it would clear, but we'll bend it out of the way and hopefully that'll be the one thing that hits. So here's what we're looking at under the hood. We're about at our limits. Main concern was this transmission line. It was, going pretty good. Still going pretty good, I guess. But we're getting tight here. We got a water line back there. It's still got some slack. I went ahead and took the hose off the power booster. It was tight. Figured I'd pull it off before it breaks. But everything else got a pretty good bit of play. So we're gonna go ahead and hook our cherry picker up, pull the motor up a little bit, put a jack under the transmission, and try and kind of keep it as center as we can. So I got the frame and the body separated about 6 inches or so. I'm gonna get ready to run a 4x4 straight through here. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. We popped the hose. So I'm gonna get ready to run a 4x4 straight through here to support the tail shaft of the transmission. So we got it kind of easy from here. One thing I want you to make a note of, when you go to lift stuff up like this, wood on metal doesn't slide. Metal on metal slides. Wood on wood, it slides. So always do, wood to metal. I've seen people lift this up with square tubing. It's good because it's strong, but it's bad because it slides. If you're gonna do that, put a piece of wood in between the two. It'll help you keep from sliding. Definitely don't want stuff falling over, that's for sure. As you can see, that 4x4 there's got some bow. They don't build 4x4s like they used to. Probably going to double up on the front. It's holding the weight of the transmission also, so that's probably why it's got a little bit of bow in it. But as I said, probably going to double it up just to be sure. You know, it'd more likely hold it, but I'd rather not drop the body. That would suck. We're going to have to go up a few more inches to be able to clear everything. I'm going to drop the tires, drop the frame down on my skates for the front, but we still have to clear the ABS box and all the brake lines. Then I'm going to pretty much call it quits on this video and for the day. This stuff's kind of like mentally exhausting. It isn't really hard work. You just got to really pay attention, listen to everything. As you can hear, probably the wind. As you've seen, I was basically just watching each jack stand as I went up. I jacked up on this one until that one came a little bit loose, then swapped it around. Just really pay attention. That's all you gotta do. Take your time. It's not hard work, really. You just gotta listen. Use common sense. Look out for everything, all at once. But yeah, I'll show you the motor. We still got the motor up in the air. Everything's still hooked up. Did pull a hose, which isn't that big of a deal. It popped that water hose there. Like I said, that's not a big deal. It was obviously repaired at one time previously before. Probably if I wasn't making a YouTube video, I probably could have jacked it up in time, but it is what it is. You guys can go ahead and hit the like button for me doing that. How about that? That sounds like a deal, huh? But we got the motor hanging in the air. It is all off the frame. And that's what a Fleetwood would look like with like a 1 foot body lift. Remember back in like 2005 when people were putting body lifts on us to fit rims on it? Ugh, what a terrible time to be alive. Anyways, as I said, that's where I'm going to end the video. I'm exhausted. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Appreciate you guys watching. And remember, you won't know what you can do until you try. Crazy stuff, huh?
What seems to be the problem?
Good shot. Got away free. It lives to die another day.